So imagine walking up to, like, the most exclusive club in the world.
Oh, complete with the heavy velvet rope, right?
Exactly. The velvet rope, a very imposing bouncer, and this massive line of people who've been waiting years, I mean, sometimes decades, just hoping to get a glimpse inside.
Yeah, doing it the hard way.
Right. But then you see someone else walk right up, and they don't wait at all. They just hand the bouncer this sleek metallic card or, maybe just a briefcase full of cash.
And the rope just unclicks?
Unclips instantly. They walk right in past everyone. And the thing is, when it comes to global borders, that VIP line actually exists.
It really does. It's wild.
It's the ultimate pay-to-play global mobility game. We're talking about citizenship and residence-by-investment.
Right, which is basically the literal commodification of national identity. And what we're looking at today is this fascinating, highly complex market that is currently undergoing some massive structural earthquake.
Yep.
Like the velvet rope is getting yanked back and the bouncers are entirely changing the rules.
Oh. Which is exactly why we've pulled together this deep dive into the source material for you.
Yeah.
We have a massive stack of sources in front of us today, completely custom tailored to help you understand this whole landscape.
Oh, yeah. We've got a really good mix today.
We do. We're pulling from top-tier investment advisories like Henley and Partners, IST Hungary, and Thailand Privilege. Plus, we've got neutral government platforms from the UAE and Malta.
And crucially, we have the regulatory watchdogs, so the EU Commission and the Australian Taxation Office.
Right. And that mix of sources is absolutely essential.
100%. Because, you cannot understand this market just by reading the glossy brochures from the agencies selling the dream. You really got to read the fine print from the global regulators who are, actively trying to shut that dream down.
Exactly. So our mission today isn't just to hand you a price list for a second passport or, a luxury residency on a beach. We are here to decode these golden visas for you.
Right.
We need to understand why the rules of this game are rapidly shifting right now in 2026, from massive European crackdowns to the total closure of programs that used to be the gold standard.
It's a totally different landscape now.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. Before we fly off to Europe or Asia, we need to understand the fundamental mechanics of what you're actually buying.
The core products.
Right. We're looking at two very different products on the global market, which are CBI versus RBI.
Yeah, so citizenship by investment, or CBI, and residence by investment, RBI. The Henley and Partners Guide actually frames this perfectly. They call CBI a small, exclusive pool, while RBI is this expansive ocean of possibilities.
I love that phrasing.
Yeah.
But I like to think of it this way, too. CBI is like buying the house and getting the deed. You completely own it.
Yeah.
Whereas RBI is like a high-end multi-year lease with an option to buy later. But the landlord can absolutely still change the terms on you at any minute.
That's a great framing, because with CBI, you are buying a permanent passport. The deed is yours.
You're officially a citizen.
Exactly. You get full rights, you can vote, you can pass it down to your kids, and crucially, you cannot be easily deported. The sources highlight places like Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda in the Caribbean, where this deed starts around $100,000 to $200,000.
Which is usually just a non-refundable donation to the government, right?
Yep, pretty much.
See, $100,000 for a whole new nationality just sounds absurd when you say it out loud.
It really does.
But then I look at Malta's CBI program in our notes, and I'm honestly confused. Because Malta requires a massive €738,000 contribution to the country's economic development.
Yeah, it's steep.
And on top of that, it takes 12 to 36 months of naturalization, where you actually have to establish ties to the island.
Right.
Why on earth would someone pay nearly $1 million and wait 3 years for Malta when they could just buy a Caribbean passport in a few months for a fraction of the cost?
Well, because all passports are not created equal. Malta is a member of the European Union. So buying a Maltese passport doesn't just give you the right to live in Malta, it gives you the right to live, work, and study anywhere in the EU.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you are buying freedom of movement across 27 countries. The Caribbean passports offer fantastic visa-free travel for tourists, sure, but they don't give you settlement rights in, Paris or Berlin. So you pay a massive premium for the European deed.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. You're buying the ultimate golden ticket. But then on the other side, we have the RBI, the high-end lease.
Right.
You get the right to live there, to try before you buy, but your global mobility is much more limited. And as we established, the status can be revoked if the government decides they just don't like the arrangement anymore.
Exactly. And the U.S. EB-5 program is a classic example of this expansive ocean.
How does that one work again?
Well, you invest $800,000 into a commercial enterprise in a targeted employment area. The main goal there is job creation. You get a green card, meaning you get residency, but you aren't a citizen yet. You're actually on the hook to prove that your investment created 10 American jobs. If the enterprise fails, your immigration status could literally be in jeopardy.
So if it's an active transaction, not just a passive purchase.
Exactly.
And building on that high-end lease analogy, if we look at Europe today, we are seeing the landlords aggressively changing the terms of those leases.
Oh, big time.
Because they realize that just letting foreigners buy up local real estate isn't actually helping their economies in the long run.
Which is the perfect pivot to our European hotspots, specifically Hungary and Malta, and this massive shift we are seeing in 2026. Because the era of just buying a luxury apartment in a European capital and getting a visa is rapidly closing.
Let's look at Hungary first. They launched their guest investor program recently. And I mean, on paper, it sounds like the old days.
It does.
It offers a 10-year residency for the whole family with a 0 minimum stay requirement. You don't even have to live in Hungary for a single day to keep the visa.
Right, but the catch is in how you invest.
Exactly. Because as of January 2025, the direct purchase of property is entirely closed. You cannot just buy a house in Budapest anymore.
Yeah. Instead, the primary route is putting 250,000 euros into a registered real estate fund. And the Hungarian government didn't just stop there. There is a highly specific rule attached to this.
Which is what?
40% of that fund's net assets must be placed in residential real estate.
See, that feels oddly specific. Like, why not just let the funds build commercial skyscrapers or, shopping malls?
What's fascinating here is how the government is using these funds to engineer a very precise macroeconomic outcome.
Okay, tell me more.
Think about the problem with the old golden visas. A foreign millionaire buys a single-family home in the capital. They outbid a local family, the house sits empty for 10 months a year, and local housing prices just skyrocket.
And the local citizens get understandably angry.
Exactly. So by forcing the money into regulated funds with a 40% residential mandate, the government is injecting foreign capital into the broader housing supply. The funds use that money to finance developers who build new apartment complexes.
So the foreign investor gets their visa, but instead of taking a house off the market, their money actually funds the construction of new housing for locals.
Yeah.
It's basically a macroeconomic shield against gentrification.
Exactly. It's a much more sophisticated mechanism. And reading through the IST Hungary advisory, you notice some really quirky geopolitical details about who actually qualifies for this.
Yeah, I saw this.
Like, U.S. citizens can only apply if they hold a dual passport. You cannot apply with just an American passport.
Wait, really? Because the U.S. passport is usually the golden key everywhere?
Mm.
Why is Hungary restricting Americans?
Well, it really comes down to bilateral treaties and taxation disputes between the U.S. and Hungary that have deteriorated recently. It's a perfect example of how geopolitical friction directly rewrites the rules of global mobility.
Right.
Furthermore, the advisory notes that applicants from Russia and Belarus face enhanced deep dive due diligence. They aren't explicitly banned, but the bureaucratic hurdles are astronomically higher.
So geopolitics is definitely dictating the fine print here. And we see that extreme bureaucracy in Malta's permanent residence program, the MPRP, as well.
Absolutely.
Because it's an RBI program, not their citizenship one, but it is highly structured. It's not just cutting a check to a fund like in Hungary.
No, Malta requires a complex four-part structure. You have to make a property investment or sign a long-term lease. Then you have to make a direct, non-refundable government contribution.
Right.
Then you pay a massive administrative fee. And crucially, you have to make a mandatory donation to a local registered non-governmental organization like an NGO.
See, I found that NGO requirement so strange. Why does the government care if I donate to a Maltese animal shelter or, like, a historical society?
Because it creates a paper trail of integration.
Oh.
Historically, the biggest criticism of Malta was that these wealthy investors had zero ties to the social fabric of the island. So forcing an NGO donation is a performative but politically necessary way to show that the investor is contributing to the cultural or social well-being of the local community.
It's not just padding the government's treasury.
Right. And all of this is backed by multi-tiered due diligence. I mean, they want to know the absolute origin of every single cent of your wealth.
Europe is clearly tightening the screws. Honestly, it sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. if a listener's goal isn't necessarily a highly regulated European passport, but rather, untethered luxury, zero income tax, lifestyle perks.
Just fun stuff.
Yeah. If Europe is making it this hard, where is all that capital flowing instead?
It's flowing east. You look at the UAE and Thailand. Because while Europe views migration largely through the lens of security and risk mitigation, jurisdictions like the UAE and Thailand are playing a completely different game.
What's their game?
They are optimizing for talent acquisition and luxury lifestyle consumption.
Let's talk about the UAE Golden Visa, because the strategy here is just brilliant. You get a 5 or 10-year visa, and crucially, they abolish the old system where you needed an Emirati citizen to sponsor you.
Right, you are entirely independent now.
Exactly.
Right.
And to get the 10-year visa as a real estate investor, you're looking at a capital investment of 2 million dirhams, which is roughly, what,
Right.
$540,000?
Around that, yeah.
But reading the UAE government platform, they are very explicit that this isn't just a playground for the ultra-rich.
Right, they have completely broadened the aperture. The 10-year golden visa is also available to what they call frontline heroes.
They're doctors.
Yeah, medical professionals who serve during crises. Plus, it's available to outstanding high school and university students, scientists, creatives.
Which is such a smart play.
Yeah.
They aren't just importing cash, they are importing human capital.
Exactly.
They want the smartest 22-year-old software engineer to build their startup in Dubai, not Silicon Valley.
Yep, it's a holistic economic strategy. But then, if we shift our focus to Thailand, the contrast is just staggering. Because Thailand has two very different tracks that perfectly illustrate the bizarre extremes of this entire industry.
This was the part of the research that honestly blew my mind. Let's look at the two options. On one hand, you have the highly publicized Thailand Privilege Card, formerly known as the Thai Elite Visa.
Right.
And on the other hand, you have the Long-Term Resident Visa, the LTR. I really need you to explain the Privilege Card to me because the perks listed in the Thailand Privilege Source document read like a parody of a billionaire's lifestyle.
It really does. I mean, the Privilege Card is pure luxury consumption. For up to $150,000, you can buy a 20-year reserve card. And what does that buy you?
Right. What do you get?
It buys you a completely frictionless existence. You get VIP airport fast tracking. Literally, someone meets you at the gate in a golf cart and drives you past immigration.
That's wild.
You get complimentary airport lounge access, personal concierges, free spa days, rounds of golf, and annual premium health checkups.
And the most incredible part to me is that the source explicitly says there are zero strict financial or employment requirements to prove.
None.
You don't have to show your tax returns. You don't have to invest a single dollar into a Thai business. You just pay the membership fee, and you are a VIP for 2 decades.
Yeah, it's that easy.
But here's where it gets really interesting, though. Contrast that with the other option, Thailand's long-term resident visa, the LTR.
Right, so the LTR application fee is only about $1,500. It is drastically cheaper, but the barrier to entry is entirely bureaucratic.
How so?
Well, you have to prove an annual income of at least $80,000 or show substantial verified investments. Plus, you must carry mandatory high-coverage health insurance.
So wait, if I'm a highly skilled digital nomad actively working and contributing, I have to submit a mountain of paperwork, prove my exact income, and jump through bureaucratic hoops for a $1,500 visa.
Yep.
But if I'm just a millionaire who wants to go to the spa, I hand over $150,000 and the government literally gives me a golf cart escort past the border guards.
That is the exact irony of the system. The LTR visa actually allows you to get a digital work permit, which is highly regulated. The Privilege Card does not let you work at all. It is strictly for leisure.
Wow.
You have one visa for highly verified, productive professionals and another for unadulterated, unverified leisure.
But it's that exact lack of verification, that frictionless entry you get with the Privilege Card or some of the Caribbean passports that brings us to the dark side of this industry.
Oh, yeah.
Because it sounds like a utopia for those with cash, but regulators absolutely despise utopias.
They really do. And this triggers the massive regulatory crackdown we are seeing across the globe right now.
Now, it's important to frame this next part carefully for you, the listener. The sources we are about to discuss from the EU Commission and the OECD contain highly politically sensitive themes, particularly regarding how foreign investment and immigration impact local security and housing markets. So, we aren't here to offer personal critiques or take sides on whether foreign investors are to blame for systemic issues. What we are doing is looking closely at the official bureaucratic rationale.
Right.
We are strictly explaining the regulatory reality that is actively changing the laws in 2026.
And that context is vital because the EU Commission report we reviewed really laid the groundwork for the crackdowns happening today. The Commission's explicit argument is that investor citizenship and residence schemes carry severe intrinsic risks.
Like what kind of risks?
They cite security threats, money laundering, tax evasion, and corruption.
The report specifically called out Bulgaria, Cyprus, and Malta. And the phrasing they used was that these programs lacked a genuine connection to the country. Mechanically, what does that actually mean?
Mechanically, it means people were buying the passport, taking the deed, and never actually setting foot in the country.
Wow.
They didn't speak the language, they didn't pay local taxes, they just wanted the travel document. And that lack of physical presence is the exact loophole that tax evaders exploit.
Which brings us to the Australian Taxation Office and the OECD's Common Reporting Standard, or CRS. Now, I always hear about the CRS, but how does it actually work in practice to catch these people?
Well, the CRS is basically the global framework for the automatic exchange of financial information between countries. Before CRS, if you hid money in a Swiss bank, your home country's tax authority had no idea.
Right.
Now, under CRS, over 100 countries automatically share bank data with each other. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the OECD realizes that people use citizenship shopping to trick the CRS system.
Right, because if I'm secretly living in Australia, but I buy a passport from a tiny island nation and tell my Swiss bank that I'm a tax resident of that island,
Yep.
the bank sends my financial data to the island, not to Australia. So the Australian tax office stays completely in the dark.
Precisely. You use the golden visa as a shield. But the ATO guidance we looked at shows how regulators are fighting back. They're forcing banks, what they call reporting financial institutions, to actively interrogate their clients. If you walk into a bank and claim tax residency in a jurisdiction known for easy golden visas, the bank's compliance algorithm flags you immediately. The banker is now legally instructed to ask you highly specific questions to establish your actual physical footprint.
Like what? What are they asking?
They will ask, like, have you spent more than 90 days in any other jurisdictions during the previous year? They'll ask for utility bills, physical addresses, proof of where your family actually resides.
They really dig in.
They do. They're looking past the passport to find where you physically wake up in the morning. Knowledge is a tool, but a second passport can become a massive liability if you are caught using it to circumvent the Common Reporting Standard.
And this regulatory pressure from the EU and the OECD isn't just theory or, strongly worded PDFs. It has massive real-world casualties. Which brings us to the most significant event in the 2026 landscape.
Oh, this is the big one.
The total fall of the Spanish Golden Visa.
Yeah, this was a seismic shift for the industry because Spain was one of the most popular RBI destinations in the entire world.
Spain officially killed its Golden Visa on April 3, 2025. No new applications are being accepted through any investment round. So, what happened? Why did a country that historically loves foreign capital suddenly shut the door?
Well, it comes down to the mechanics of the housing market. 94% of Spain's golden visas were tied to real estate investments.
Wow, 94%.
Yeah. You buy a 500,000 euro property, you get residency. But the Spanish government argued that this massive influx of foreign capital severely inflated housing prices, completely transforming housing from a fundamental right into a speculative commodity.
Right.
The pressure in major hubs like Madrid, Barcelona, and Malaga just became completely unsustainable for local residents.
This raises an important question about the social contract of these programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw this exact same story play out in Portugal, then Ireland, and now Spain.
Exactly. When the perceived social cost, meaning local residents being priced out of their own cities, outweighs the economic benefit of the foreign capital, the political will to maintain the program just vanishes instantly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No politician wants to run for re-election, explaining why foreign investors can buy up the neighborhood, while locals literally can't afford rent.
But there is silver lining in the sources for those who are planning a move. If you already hold a Spanish Golden Visa, you are grandfathered in. You can keep renewing it under the old rules as long as you maintain that original investment.
That's a huge relief for a lot of people.
Right. And it's really important to note, foreigners can absolutely still buy property in Spain. You can still buy that beautiful villa in Malaga. It just doesn't buy you a visa anymore.
Which fundamentally changes the calculus for investors. You have to decouple your investment strategy from your immigration strategy now.
So what does this all mean for the listener who, had a 5-year plan to move their family to Spain and now the primary door is slammed shut.
It means you need a different strategy, not a different dream. You just got to prove your value in a different way. The JRO Spain Guide actually outlines the pivots available in 2026. Well, if you are actively working and have a remote income of at least 2,400 euros a month, you look at the digital nomad visa.
Okay.
If you are retiring and have solid, provable savings, you look at the non-lucrative visa. And if you are building a business that creates local jobs, you look at the entrepreneur visa.
And we have to mention the Beckham Law, because it's such a massive draw.
Oh, absolutely.
If you qualify as a new resident for work in Spain, they offer a flat 24% tax rate on Spanish source income up to 600,000 euros. That is an incredibly competitive tax rate in Europe.
It really is.
So the incentives to move to Spain are absolutely still there. They are just tied to your active economic contribution rather than passive real estate purchases.
Right. The era of just buying a house, leaving it empty for 10 months, and getting a European residency card is over. The entire global game is shifting from passive capital to active contribution and strict regulatory compliance.
We've covered some incredible ground today. We started by breaking down the deed versus lease mechanics of Caribbean passports and European residencies.
Yep.
We looked at how Hungary is using heavily regulated real estate funds to protect locals, and how Malta demands a strict four-part integration structure. We explored the surreal VIP spa days of the Thailand privilege card versus the bureaucratic nightmare of the LTR visa.
Such a crazy contrast.
And we looked at the stark reality of the EU and OECD regulatory crackdowns hunting for tax evaders.
Yeah.
And we saw how that exact pressure, combined with local housing crises, led to the ultimate closure of Spain's golden visa.
The overarching lesson for you, the listener, is that thriving in this new 2026 landscape requires deep critical thinking.
Yeah.
It is no longer just about having the cash to invest passively. You have to align your strategy with the geopolitical reality. You need to find the right strategic tool, whether that's a digital nomad visa based on your remote income, an actively managed real estate fund in Hungary, or a heavily vetted CBI program.
Something that actually fits your true lifestyle, your physical presence, and your legal obligations.
Exactly.
You can't just buy your way past the velvet rope without the bouncer checking your credentials anymore. The club has cameras now.
It really does.
But that leaves us with one final fascinating thought to chew on. Something we haven't touched on yet, but that feels inevitable based on these sources. Historically, these programs were heavily used by citizens of developing nations seeking the stability, safety, and passport strength of a Western nation.
Yeah, it was traditionally a hedge against volatility in the global south.
Right. But look at the world right now. Look at the headlines. With the rapid acceleration of climate change, massive political polarization, and unprecedented social instability creeping into traditionally stable Western nations.
It's everywhere now.
What happens when first-world citizens become the primary buyers of these secondary residencies?
That completely flips the historical paradigm of global migration.
It really does. Are we moving toward a future where your citizenship is treated less like a sacred, permanent national identity and more like a subscription service in a globally diversified portfolio?
Just another asset to manage.
It's exactly something you cancel when the local climate or politics get too hot. Next time you see that velvet rope, ask yourself not just what it costs to get in, but what you're actually subscribing to once you're inside.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We'll catch you next time.